5 signs you're getting triggered too easily. Alright, let's be real. We live in a time where just about anything can set people off. A tweet, a joke, a slightly offhand comment, boom, instant outrage. But have you ever stopped to ask yourself why? Why do we, as individuals and as a society, seem to be getting more and more sensitive to things that, in the grand scheme of life, don't actually harm us? Is it really about the words being said, or is there something deeper going on? What if I told you that getting triggered too easily is not just an emotional response, it's a trap, a kind of mental prison that quietly steals your ability to think freely, act wisely, and grow into the person you're meant to become? Before you react to that statement, take a second to really think about it. When you last felt triggered by something, what was happening inside you? Was it truly the external event that caused your reaction, or was it something within you that interpreted that event in a way that made you feel attacked? The truth is, most of the time, the things that trigger us are reflections of our own unresolved issues. If someone calls you ignorant and you explode with anger, it's probably because, deep down, you fear that there might be some truth to it. If you were secure in your knowledge, the insult wouldn't bother you. It would roll off like water on a duck's back. But if it stings, if it gets under your skin, that means something inside you is unsettled. And that's where the real work begins. Now, let's dissect this further. Why do people get triggered so easily today? One reason is that we've been conditioned by social media, by culture, by our own psychological habits to seek comfort at all costs. We avoid discomfort like the plague. But here's the thing, growth only happens in discomfort. Every great thinker, every philosopher, every person who has ever achieved true wisdom and strength had to face uncomfortable truths. They had to deal with criticism, with opposing views, with the harsh realities of life. And instead of lashing out, instead of retreating into a victim mentality, they used those challenges as fuel for growth. Think about Socrates. He was literally sentenced to death for questioning people's beliefs. Did he rage? Did he cry out in emotional distress? No, he accepted his fate with unwavering composure because he understood something most people today don't. Getting triggered is a form of weakness. It means you're allowing external forces to control your internal state. And the more control you give away, the less free you become.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but what if people are genuinely being offensive? What if someone is disrespectful? And that's a fair question. But here's the ultimate counterpoint. You can't control what others say or do. You can only control how you respond. And if your response is always to explode, to shut down, to disengage from dialogue, then you're playing right into the hands of those who seek to manipulate you. Strength isn't about never feeling emotions, it's about mastering them. It's about recognizing that your triggers are your responsibility, no one else's. Let's get even deeper. Have you ever noticed how the things that trigger you the most tend to be the things that, if you were honest with yourself, reveal something uncomfortable about you? If someone makes a joke about laziness and you get offended, is it because you secretly know you've been procrastinating? If someone critiques your work and it makes you furious, is it because you're insecure about its quality? Triggers aren't just random, they're clues. Clues that point to the areas where we need to grow. But instead of using them as tools for self-improvement, most people do the opposite. They attack the messenger. They demand the world change to accommodate their sensitivities instead of developing the resilience to face reality as it is. And here's where things get really dangerous. When a society normalizes emotional fragility, when it starts rewarding people for being easily offended rather than encouraging them to build strength, it creates a culture of intellectual stagnation. Conversations become impossible. Progress halts. People tiptoe around each other, afraid to speak the truth because someone, somewhere, might take offense. And when truth becomes secondary to feelings, we all lose. Think about this. If you could eliminate just one of your biggest emotional triggers, how much mental energy would you free up? How much clearer would your thinking be? How much more powerful would you feel, knowing that no one else has the ability to control your emotions but you? That's the real goal here. Not to become numb, not to suppress emotions, but to develop the kind of inner strength that makes you unshakable. So, let me leave you with this. What is something that triggers you easily? And instead of blaming the external world for it, can you trace it back to something within yourself? A fear? A past wound? An insecurity? What would happen if, instead of reacting, you paused, reflected, and used that trigger as an opportunity for self-discovery? Because at the end of the day, the strongest person in the room isn't the one who never gets offended, it's the one who can face offense without losing themselves. The illusion of control, why emotional resilience is the key to true freedom. Imagine walking through life like an open wound, where every stray word, every differing opinion, every inconvenient truth feels like salt being poured directly onto your skin. The world becomes an unbearable place, full of perceived enemies and hidden attacks. But here's the reality most of the time. The world isn't attacking you. It's simply existing. People are expressing their thoughts, their perspectives, their humor, their beliefs, just as you do. And yet, if you find yourself getting triggered too easily, what's really happening is that you are demanding the world conform to your emotional state rather than mastering your own mind. But here's the brutal truth. The world will not bend for you. It never has, and it never will. The only thing you have control over is yourself. And the more control you develop over your emotions, the freer you become. Let's break this down. Why do people get so emotionally reactive? The answer lies in a fundamental human illusion, the illusion of control. That we want to control how others behave, how they speak, how they think. We want to ensure that no one ever offends us, that no one ever challenges our worldview, that no one ever forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. But that is a losing battle. The more you seek to control external reality, the more powerless you become. Because reality does not cater to your comfort. It never has. It never will. And the more you resist this truth, the more you suffer. This is why emotional resilience is the key to true freedom. Freedom isn't doing whatever you want without consequences. It's not forcing others to tiptoe around your sensitivities. The true freedom is the ability to walk through life unshaken, to hear an insult and remain calm, to face criticism and extract wisdom from it without letting your ego get in the way, to encounter opposing views and engage with them thoughtfully rather than reacting with blind outrage. The moment you allow yourself to be triggered by every little thing, you become a puppet your strings, pulled by anyone who knows how to press your buttons. But if you develop emotional resilience, no one can control you except you. Think about the great minds of history. The philosophers, the warriors, the revolutionaries. Do you think they had the luxury of being emotionally fragile? Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, ruled an empire while facing betrayal, war, and personal loss. And yet his response was not outrage or despair, but wisdom. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He understood that external events are beyond our control, but our response to them is entirely within our power. And that is where true strength lies. Now, let's apply this to your own life. Think about the last time you got triggered. What happened? Maybe someone disagreed with you. Maybe someone made a joke you found offensive. Maybe you saw something online that made your blood boil. But here's the question: what did that reaction accomplish? Did it change the situation? Did it bring you peace? Or did it simply drain your energy, making you more reactive, more bitter, more exhausted? If your emotional reactions are not serving you, why do you continue to indulge them? And let's go even deeper. What if the things that trigger you are actually your greatest teachers? What if, instead of seeing them as attacks, you saw them as opportunities? Every time you feel triggered, it's a signal your mind is revealing an area where you are not yet free. If a comment about your intelligence makes you angry, it means you are insecure about your intelligence. If a joke about your beliefs sends you into a spiral, it means your beliefs are not as solid as you think. If criticism of your work shatters your confidence, it means you have tied your self-worth to external validation. These moments are not curses, they are gifts showing you exactly where you need to grow. But most people don't see it that way. They take the easy route. They lash out. They demand others change. They create echo chambers where no one is allowed to challenge them, where every opinion must align with their own, where discomfort is avoided at all costs. But do you know what happens in those echo chambers? Stagnation, weakness, a slow decay of the mind. Because when you shield yourself from discomfort, you also shield yourself from growth. So here's the challenge. The next time you feel triggered, don't react. Pause. Observe. Ask yourself, why does this bother me? What does this reveal about me? What insecurity, what fear, what unresolved emotion is being exposed? And then, instead of demanding the world change, work on yourself. Strengthen your mind. Sharpen your reasoning. Build a foundation so solid that no storm can shake it. Because at the end of the day, the world is not going to stop offending you. People will continue to say things you don't like. They will continue to hold views you disagree with. They will continue to exist in ways that make you uncomfortable. You cannot change that, but you can change how you respond. And that is where true power lies. So what kind of person do you want to be? The one who is constantly at the mercy of their emotions, easily manipulated, easily offended, constantly drained by the world? Or the one who stands unshaken, calm in the face of chaos, free from the chains of emotional fragility? The choice is yours. The strength to endure. Why discomfort is the price of greatness. There is a quiet kind of power that exists in those who have mastered themselves. You've seen it before: the person who remains calm while others explode, the one who listens instead of reacting, the one who can take a hit, absorb the energy of the moment, and still move forward with clarity. That kind of person is rare because that kind of strength is not given. It is built, and the foundation of that strength is the ability to endure discomfort. But here's the hard truth: most people today are unwilling to endure anything uncomfortable. We live in a time where avoiding discomfort has become the highest priority. If something offends us, we demand its removal. If a conversation makes us uneasy, we shut it down. If a challenge arises, we search for the easiest way out. But in doing so, we rob ourselves of something essential, the ability to grow through hardship. Because the reality is, every great transformation in life requires discomfort. Every person who has ever achieved anything meaningful has had to face criticism, failure, rejection, and struggle. And instead of running from it, they leaned into it. Think about it. When has avoiding discomfort ever made you stronger? If you avoid difficult conversations, do your relationships improve? If you avoid criticism, does your work get better? If you avoid failure, do you ever achieve success? The answer is always no. Growth demands friction. The strength is forged in resistance. And yet, so many people live in fear of these things, choosing comfort over resilience, safety over strength. But comfort is a trap. It lulls you into stagnation, making you weaker with every avoided challenge. And weakness, in the long run, is far more painful than any temporary discomfort. Now, let's bring this back to getting triggered. When you react emotionally to something, what's really happening? You are experiencing discomfort, mental, emotional, or even physical. Your mind perceives a threat, and your body responds with anger, anxiety, or distress. But here's where you have a choice. You can either give in to that reaction, allowing it to control you, or you can sit with it. You can observe it without acting on it. You can endure the discomfort of that moment and, in doing so, become stronger than it. Because every time you resist the urge to react emotionally, you reclaim a piece of your power. You train yourself to rise above temporary feelings and operate from a place of control rather than chaos. This is why the greatest minds in history, whether philosophers, warriors, or leaders, have all understood the necessity of endurance. The Stoics trained themselves to withstand hardship because they knew that life itself is unpredictable and often brutal. The samurai embraced the reality of death so that they could live without fear. The greatest artists, scientists, and thinkers all faced relentless criticism, yet they endured it because their vision was greater than their discomfort. So the question is, can you do the same? Can you sit with discomfort rather than running from it? Can you hear a criticism without letting it destroy your confidence? Can you encounter an opposing view without feeling personally attacked? Can you endure a moment of offense without demanding the world change to accommodate you? Because if you can, you will find something extraordinary on the other side: freedom. The freedom to think clearly, to act wisely, to engage with the world without being ruled by your emotions. And that kind of freedom is rare. Most people will never experience it because they are too addicted to comfort, too afraid of discomfort, too unwilling to confront their own weaknesses. But you don't have to be like most people. You can choose resilience. You can choose strength. You can choose to endure, knowing that every moment of discomfort you overcome makes you more powerful than you were before. So ask yourself, are you willing to pay the price of greatness? Because that price is not comfort. It is not ease. It is not a life free from offense or challenge. The price of greatness is the willingness to endure, to remain unshaken in the face of discomfort, and to emerge from it stronger than before. And that choice is yours to make. The unshakable mind, how mastering your emotions makes you untouchable, there is a kind of peace that most people will never experience. It is not the peace that comes from avoiding conflict or sheltering yourself from discomfort. It is not the peace of living in an echo chamber where no one ever challenges you. No, the deepest and most powerful form of peace is the one that comes from within when you become so grounded, so unshakable, that nothing external can disturb your inner state. Imagine that for a moment. Imagine walking through life immune to petty insults, unbothered by the chaos around you, completely in control of your emotions, your reactions, your energy. That is real freedom. That is real power. And that is what most people are unknowingly seeking when they lash out, when they get triggered, when they try to control the world instead of mastering themselves. But here's the paradox: true peace does not come from changing the world to fit your sensitivities. It comes from strengthening yourself so that no matter what the world throws at you, you remain undisturbed. This is the mindset of the warrior, the philosopher, the leader. It is the mindset of the person who understands that emotions are not dictators, they are merely signals, but signals that can be observed, understood, and ultimately controlled. And when you control your emotions, you control your life. Think about how much energy people waste being outraged, being offended, being consumed by emotional reactions that serve no real purpose. That energy could be redirected into something meaningful, into learning, into growing, into creating something that actually matters. But instead, so many people remain trapped in the cycle of reaction, allowing the world to dictate how they feel, how they think, how they move through life. And the cost of that is enormous. Because every moment spent in emotional turmoil is a moment lost, a moment that could have been used to build something greater. So here is the ultimate truth: the world will never stop testing you. People will always say things you don't like. There will always be challenges, conflicts, and discomfort. But none of that has the power to affect you unless you allow it to. The moment you realize this, the moment you truly internalize it, you become untouchable. You become the kind of person who can walk through fire without being burned, who can face criticism without breaking, who can engage with the world fully and fearlessly because you are no longer controlled by it. And that is the final challenge. Can you step into that mindset? Can you let go of the need to control others and instead take full responsibility for yourself? Can you train yourself to pause, to reflect, to respond with wisdom instead of reacting with emotion? Because if you can, you will experience a kind of strength, a kind of clarity, a kind of freedom that most people will never know. And once you taste that, you will never go back. The choice is yours.